Right, so we've got this 19 GTI coming from another garage. They've been diagnosing a fault, but they got stuck, so it's been sent in. Wouldn't start from cold until you took airflow sensor off, which is strange because we never have problems with these whatsoever. As soon as it came in, we saw there was an instant fault because on the back of here we've got, you can just see that blue connector down there, that had a black connector on. And you can't see it at the moment, but idle control, which is in the pipe work down there, is a black connector. So it had the cooling temp sensor wire to ECU and idle control wire the wrong way around. So that should have been an instant fix, but it hasn't been. So we've ended up trying with a different airflow, and we've got it running, but there's definitely something else wrong with it. We have got some strange wiring modifications here, so that's where I'm going to have a quick look now, because these generally get hot on the exhaust, melt the wires and cause issues. It's going the wrong way. It should be over here. So yeah, we're going to pull all that apart and see if there's any broken wires in there for a start. But just looking at other things, a couple of little issues. This had tank tape on it, and you can see there, I don't think these are going to be making good contact. I think this could be fuses for stuff, either fans or injection. So hopefully we'll be getting to the bottom of it fairly soon. Sorry. Oh, and we need to do a clutch on it as well. Slipping now that it's running. So as always, after we've checked the fundamentals, we go to fuel pressure. Always a good start with these cars. So I want to see 3 bar. So there's ignition on, and that's good. Just over 3 bar, so perfect fuel pressure. Turn it off. I can hear the fuel pump stopped. It's holding pressure. So fuel pressure's good. So on to the next step. Alright, so this wiring loom, it's just looking like it's had multiple repairs. And obviously we've got running problems with it. Another one here. They've got it bared down to metal there. I've got some sort of connection here melted. I've got a big red here, which is actually cut. So I'm going to have to go through each wire really, make sure we've got no issues, because we have issues with the running of the car. But yeah, joy. I love cars, me. Right, so we're starting to get into it now. Got the loom going the right way. I've not replaced anything, I just want to see how bad it is first. So down there, it's all one loom. I need some, this, because that's absolutely toast. So we'll see about putting it back together as it should be, or as it should look. Right, so it's going the right way now. Ignition module it's not upside down and it's the correct way. That's the way the loom goes. I've just turned it round because I haven't got any at the moment. I haven't got any spare, so I'll turn it round. You won't see that under the inlet manifold, so that's fine. And then I'll use another piece for that bit. We'll get everything looking right. I'm not too worried yet. I just need to hear it run properly so we can start putting it back together now. Right, we're going back together with this wiring job, and the wiring loom's looking a lot better. You can see it now fires under the inlet, and there's only one loom rather than 3 or 4. We're starting to get to grips with the wiring fault. Obviously we had the connector swapped over for, you can see it now, the idle control valve, which is that black plug down there. Because they've been swapped over, this is our next fault. Obviously that had a 12 volt light fired into it, so the ohms were completely shot on this temperature sensor on the ECU, so it's got a new one in there now. But I've still got issues with idle control because someone's been playing with the loom. We are looking through the wiring diagrams. I'm pleased to say I've still got Peugeot wiring diagrams, and these are 205, the actual the book which shows you how to test everything. So here's our idle control. We'll be doing the tests on that next, but it's definitely lost a live or an earth to one of the connectors, or one of the terminals, sorry, which is here. So I've only got one live come to it, I've got no earth, so that idle control can't work. So we are working through the faults, and I'm sure we'll get it running better fairly soon. Right, so it's all running. It sounds fit as a butcher's dog until this is our idle control valve. So something on the wiring is not liking the idle control valve, because as soon as it's plugged in, it's shutting it completely down, and it shouldn't even take a reference from it. So somewhere on that side of the wiring is got a problem. Right, we've got a lesson on GTI injection systems this morning. Obviously all looks very complicated, but it's not really. Not on these cars anyway. We don't get many faults with them. The faults we get are wiring, melted wires and sensors. So on this one we've got a problem with idle control. Turned out some of the wires have been swapped over at some point in its life, and it's probably never worked, or some of the wires have touched and are still touching somewhere in the loom. So the idle control is a simple circuit on these cars, and it is nothing to do with the injection system. It might be on the loom, but it can quite happily run without any of the injection. Basically what it is, it's this here, idle control valve, and you can see in there it's got an open triangle. When you put power to those two terminals, basically that diaphragm inside rotates and blocks off that triangle. Triangle allows air to be fed on the wrong side of the butterfly, therefore giving it a little bit of air behind the butterfly, increasing the idle. In other words, gives it a bit of an air leak. So it takes air from in front of the butterfly and puts it behind. As soon as you put power to it, that triangle within 2 minutes disappears, therefore stops air coming here and drops the idle back to normal. It's also temperature related. So if you see, it's actually connected to the thermostat housing. So when it's warm, it doesn't matter about the power, it'll always be closed off. So it's temperature related and power related when cold. So yesterday when we connected to my test reference with the car running, stopped the car. So I know that has to be something fairly significant, because it can't do that because it's not connected to anything on the injection system, so to speak. ECU doesn't take a reference. Basically, it's just giving the inlet a bit of air when it's cold. So you can run without it. A lot of rally cars run without it. There's no reason for it. It can run quite happily without. So, rewired. We've got our splice coming from injectors, and I've now got my other wire going to the big main earth of the gearbox. It'll be hidden in this loom. So yeah, just a little bit of teaching on a Saturday morning. Let's see if it actually works and gives us idle control. It's nice and cold now, so it should, when it's put back together, run as it should do. Let's see if it does. Right, we're coming into first startup with modified wiring. I have changed the wiring on the faulty connector on the idle control. The blue cooling temp sensor replaced. Wiring has been put back to standard. Obviously we do have a fault with a partial part of it, but I'm not worried if it starts. So basically I'm going to start it up and see how it runs and see if it's got idle control. I can see other faults up to a point. We've got someone's been playing with mixture. That's all the way down at the bottom, so we are going to have to set the car up once we've done this, but this is just the final bits. If I can get it running with a fast idle, we are winning. So let's see if our new setup gives us a higher rev. I will have to blip the throttle a bit to see if I can get it to initiate. Still low. Right, so you can hear there, it's holding revs on its own. The initial startup procedure is just give it a couple of blips, wait for the diaphragm to put the air where it needs to. We're running at 1500 revs, which is where it should be. So after a couple of minutes it should drop down. We might have to do a little bit of tickling, but that's basically how the idle control works on a 205. Other cars are completely different, but this injection system is fairly basic, and it just bleeds off a bit of air into the inlet. So I am happy so far. I'll give another video in a minute when it's calmed down. Right, here we are. So it's starting to calm down. Just below 1000. This is where we set our idle. Obviously when it's fully heated up. So I'm fairly pleased with that so far. We've fixed its ailments and it starts on the button now, hopefully every time. We'll try it again. So that's off, and call me a liar now. Just need a blip. So once we've set up 100%, that'll sort it out. So that'll sort itself out. It's a little bit low there, if anything. These are brilliant to set up because they're so easy to. There we go. Finally getting somewhere. Right, let's see if we can get it in real time, the idle control process. So we've got ignition on. Right, so we start it up, a little bit of a tickle on the revs. That's holding steady at just under 1500. And there we are. It needs a little bit of a blip to finalise it, but that was just over a minute and it's starting to idle correctly. So that was a cold start. We're a minute 30 in and idle control's off, but it starts on the button now, so I'm pleased with it so far. Couple more little jobs to do. Fasten down airflow, and I've got a couple of relays there that are out of position. We'll sort that later, and yeah, back to the customer. Pleased with that.